In last week's episode, I spoke about the Maker's Box, why I created it, what's included in it, and why you don't want to miss out on this DIY subscription box. If you want to know a few more details about that, go give that one a listen. Now, in this week's episode, I want to talk about time management and being proactive versus reactive when it comes to your business. If you always feel like you're flying by the seat of your pants week to week, then this is the episode that you don't want to miss.
Welcome to the Rescued and Upcycled podcast with weekly inspiration, tips on trying new techniques, and overall real talk about owning your own DIY business. Now here's your host, Sonnet Ullenbrock.
Welcome back to Rescued and Upcycled. I'm your host, Sonnet Ellenbrock. I want to thank you guys for joining me today. If you guys are new here, I do interview creatives or small business owners every other week, and I just love talking about all things business. Now, this year, I've decided to incorporate some more like design and home decor topics. So you're going to see those popping in here and there. And today we are going to talk about time management and using your time wisely. Now, here in Wisconsin, you guys, it has been bitter cold. And when I say cold, we're talking the negative digits. And so you really can't enjoy a lot of time outdoors. You're basically trapped inside. So let's use that extra downtime each week and use it wisely. So, I'm going to talk about how you can be very proactive versus reactive when it comes to your business, especially during these early winter months, your first quarter of the year. I don't know about you guys, but my numbers definitely reflect January and February moving into March. Things are a lot slower than they are in fourth quarter. So definitely use this time wisely when things are a bit slower. Be ready to catch up and get ready for the latter half of the year. Now, keep in mind, this is definitely still a work in progress for me. So, I'm always looking at perfecting and getting better at new techniques and different processes in my small business. I like to, implement new things into my business and try to be more efficient, and especially with time, you guys, because doesn't it always feel like we need an extra like 24 hours in a work week? Or like, just that extra day. I always think like if I only had one extra day, think of what else I could accomplish. And it's just not possible. And plus, we want to have good work life balance. You can't be working 24/7. And so, by implementing and being more proactive when you are doing different things, it's definitely going to help you be proactive versus reactive. So, and just remember, you guys, practice makes perfect. So don't think you're going to jump in and you're going to be perfect right from the get go. And don't try to implement this in all areas of your business. Like tackle one specific area and then move on to the next. And, get into a routine for one of the areas and then work on another area in your small business. So, every week I was trying to come up with like new video ideas, and new topics. I didn't know week to week what I, wanted to accomplish for my business. I just felt like I was winging it every single week when I first started my business. Like I would go, okay, I have to do a video. Okay, what am I going to do it on? And then I would be like scrambling and like, oh, do I need to go thrifting? Do I need to do this? Or oh gosh, I have to upcycle something. And it was always like this constant, like, just it was actually a weight on my shoulder every single week. I just felt like my creative juices weren't flowing as good because I always was like being very reactive. And I finally decided I don't know if I listened to like a podcast or if it was like Think Media. Somebody said, create a content calendar. And I thought, what a brilliant idea. Like to have like a calendar laid out for me and like have ideas out there, like like on a day when things were really flowing and I'm like, oh, I could do this. And oh, this is a great idea. I could do this how to video. Oh gosh, I could take these items and like go into my stash because we all know we have large enough stashes to go into, pull out items ahead of time and go, okay, well, I am going to flip these items next week or for a video next week. But don't wait till next week to do the flip. Do it now. Get ahead is basically what I'm trying to say. Now, did this give me no freedom to change things up? Absolutely not, you guys. If I wanted to do a different video, I would. It was just nice to lay things out on a calendar. And I know many of you guys love using your phones. I still love having a paper calendar in front of me. I talk about this often, and I'm sure many of you laugh about it, but I really like to see things like at an entire glance of like month by month or even like that first quarter to really see, and I use my little color coded stickies still. I go to Walmart, I buy them in packs, and I have like for my podcast, I have a blue one or what have you. So I have them all color coded and I lay them all out on my calendar. That way, too, if I change my mind, all I have to do is take my sticky and move it forward. I don't necessarily have to, oh gosh, and I love my favorite pens. So if I don't want to scribble something off, I can just move that sticky. Now, you have so much freedom in this, but it also allows you to figure out a schedule. Like for me, I like doing, certain things each day of the week. And at least with this content calendar, it gives me some direction. I sit down at the beginning of each quarter and I just list out different ideas and topics. Like, for instance, my podcast. This is a perfect example. So I sit down, I take if they're I can't even remember my blue stickies and I put one on every Tuesday. So Tuesdays are my day to do all things podcast. So if I'm going to be taping, it's going to be on Tuesday. If, whatever I'm going to be doing, if I'm going to be scheduling something, it's going to be done on Tuesday for my podcast. So I like to sit down at the beginning of the quarter and just start brainstorming, different topics I want to cover on my podcast, different individuals I want to interview. And I go back and I like to look at the previous podcast comments and see if there are any ideas or suggestions out there as well that I can incorporate. And again, then I tape all of my podcasts on Tuesdays. So it's nice because I have everything set up then. And what I am trying to do is I am trying to tape ahead. I'm trying to get several episodes taped ahead. And I was doing really good, you guys. And now I'm going to be totally open and honest with you when I say that we're not perfect. We aren't. And I'm not. And I was like 4 episodes ahead. I had these all pre scheduled. And then fourth quarter hit, you guys. And I just lost it. I was a complete hot mess. I was back to winging it week by week. And just, so much stuff was going on because fourth quarter gets so stinking busy. So, and I started implementing this later in the year of 2024 is when I came up with this idea of like being more proactive, taping ahead, and instead of being that, reactive, crazy lunatic like I was. So, yeah, I just called myself a crazy lunatic, but I felt like it because I was like, I would sit there and I'm like, okay, I don't even know what I'm going to talk about, and now the other thing I do to hold myself accountable is at the beginning of, I recap at the beginning of my podcast what I spoke about last week, but at the end of my podcast, I always say what I'm going to talk about next week, what my topic is. It's going to get you guys interested. Plus, it's going to hold me accountable. And I know that's a topic I'm going to talk about. At least if I'm only like 1 week, like a week ahead, at least I know what that topic is. And I don't have to be sitting there on that Tuesday going, oh boy, what am I going to talk about today? And that's what you want to prevent because that just really puts like really squashes your creative juices and you're like it just honestly I know from personal experience you don't want to feel like that. You want to be more proactive, okay? So, um, by doing taping ahead, it really gave me a ton of freedom. And I'll tell you a prime example is I had things taped way in advance. And if you guys know that in October of last year, I held my first retreat. Well, I did not realize at that point what I had taken on. It was a huge undertaking, and I was doing it solo. And so thank goodness, you guys, I had so much taped ahead that when I was like doing all the prep work, I didn't have to stop what I was doing to go and tape a podcast to come up with an idea. It was all pre taped. During that period of time, I also got really sick and I lost my voice. And so, if you think about it, if you lose your voice, you can't be talking on a podcast. So, that was also another really nice thing by having things taped ahead. So keep that in mind. Life happens, things happen. And if you want to be consistent on your social platforms by taping ahead and being, just even do like a week or two ahead. You don't have to be the 4 weeks ahead like I was, but that is my ultimate goal to be 4 weeks ahead on everything, just to help me, give me that little added buffer, and then I can be, like, creatively coming up with new ideas and topics, and if I have to slide in, let's say there's a new release, I can move one of my videos to a different day. So, again, just be more proactive in, like, all areas of your business, or try to, or pick an area to do that. So, um, this is definitely a goal of mine in 2025 to again get back ahead and have my 4 episodes taped. And this is very doable, you guys. And I'm going to check back with you guys on a later podcast in a couple months. And I'm going to tell you guys how that's going. And that's going to hold me accountable as well. But it is definitely like I said, I want the podcast taped 4 episodes ahead. Now, during more of this downtime that we're all having, or if you want to call it downtime, I am using January, February, and March as a major catch up. You know, think about it. January, February, everybody talks about how slow our booths are. When things are a bit slower in our booths, it's just a great time to truly get organized. And every year I do start off the year getting like all areas of my business organized, and I also pick an area that is completely like last year I chose an area in my basement and I completely organized it. And each year I do that. I pick an area and I figure out how I'm going to completely organize that space. Now, this year, I did choose my shipping and receiving room because it has been complete chaos in the latter half of the year in fourth quarter. And, if you would see the aftermath of fourth quarter, it was very hard for me to stay organized. So that is one area that in my membership group, we all pick an area. We show the before photos, we show the after photos, and next week is when we're going to show the after photos of the area we chose. Unfortunately, I have not done a lot of organizing in that one specific area because I was getting out my maker's box, and I had just a slew of issues with getting paint, pouring paint at the last minute, and all that good stuff. So I have, I'm going to pick a day next week and I am going to completely organize it so that I can show everyone that, me as the fearless leader, I stuck to it as well. I chose my area. I'm going to organize it. And in the end, you guys, it's going to be better. I mean, it is going to help me run more efficiently, shipping out products. I'm not going to be tripping over boxes. I'm going to be able to figure out where all my paints are, where all my papers are, etc. So keep that in mind. It not only helps you be, more organized, but just more efficient. And now January and February, let's talk a little bit more about that. They are also not only a great time to just get organized, but to get into your booth and give it a good cleaning, dust it, vacuum it, do a complete booth flip to it, move everything around to really refresh the look and feel of your booth. It's a new year, have a new look. And guess what? Spring is right around the corner, and customers are going to be itching to get in and start decorating their homes for spring, really at the end of, maybe mid to end of March. So take this time and get in there and get your booth ready. Add all things spring. So I have officially started planning my spring booth flips, and I'm starting um, to plan and just figure out what I want to add to my booths. And I do have 3 booths. So it is a huge undertaking for me. And I have to say, one of my booths at the moment is looking like in complete disarray. And at this point, I have realized I have to prioritize what is most important in my business. Like, what do I need to get done? And unfortunately, this one booth has been always on the very last item of my to-do list. I should actually start with that booth, but I'm not. I'm going to start with Yield Goat, and I already have I pulled a piece of furniture and I started the prep work on that piece of furniture. I also picked out my spring colors for my spring theme, and I'm just having so much fun with it. So I have that all started. And then keep in mind too, like get that all pulled together, but really get in your booth and give it a good cleaning. It's amazing. I go in there and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's like dust bunnies on the ground. There's, like give it a vacuum, wipe, take a good bucket of water and wash your floors. The salt that people track in. So for those that may not be in the northern or Midwest, of the US, you may not know. Here we toss this stuff down on the ground called salt, and it breaks up the ice so we don't fall. And it creates a lot of dirt and just yuck in your booths when people come trekking in, and you can see it throughout the store. So give it a good cleaning. But definitely start working on that. And now another thing that are coming up are spring shows, you guys, and you need to start getting ready for those as well. So start now. I have a big show in May, and I always seem to wait to prep for it. I always think, yeah, there's plenty of time. There's always plenty of time. Start now. And that's exactly what I'm doing. And I'm so happy Wendy reached out to all of us and said, are you guys in? I'm already getting people reaching out to me, finding out what weekend it is, and knowing that it is coming up in May. I've already started to brainstorm for that. And I'm thinking about items that I want to make and what look and feel do I want for that specific vendor booth. And I am going to start officially picking for that show, flipping items for it. And you guys know, if you've been listening or watching, I love to bring my viewers along as I prep and set up for that show. It's so fun seeing that, the whole process. And I used to bring you guys along for Cranberry Fest. And that show I did eliminate last year was the first year I didn't do it because I held my retreat. And I will not be doing it again this year because I will be holding my retreat as well that first weekend in October. So, with that said, I'm starting the prep work for that as well. So I'm super excited to start sharing details as I come up with the different creatives that I'll be having at the event, and what you can all expect. So Um, but going back to the May show, you guys, if you have shows though, start prepping, start getting ready for it ahead of time because you can be so much more like organized and prepared. And I know like sometimes I get in the whole like mindset of like, I have tons of time to do that, or, I want to do this instead. And just take some time, map out, draw out like how you want your booth set up. Just that alone, like set up is huge. Like figure out what vignettes you want or how you want to set up or what pieces you're looking for. I know like last year I was on the hunt for a hutch. I could not find a hutch anywhere. So if you know you want something like that in your booth, start looking now, months ahead, so you can have the main pieces all prepped and ready because you think like, "Oh, I can paint that. It won't take me that long." Well, it does. It does take a long time. And like, what about weather for spring? You have to take this all into consideration. So I'm going to try to do this a bit ahead of time versus weeks before the show. So I think I'm going to start prepping actually in March this year versus April. This is really going to help me alleviate so much stress and pressure that I put on myself. And I always have a girls' weekend in May, Mother's Day weekend. The girls and we always do something fun. We've been going up to Door County. And then the following weekend is Wendy's. And I always come back from that and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have so much to get ready. And I don't want to feel like that. I want to feel like, okay, I'm ready. I have everything set. I don't need a price. I mean, pricing alone seems like that takes me a day. Just I get stuff there and I'm pricing still. So I want this all done ahead of time. And I want that for all of you guys too. So overall, you guys, I am just trying to create, like create ahead of time versus the week of when something is due. Are we always perfect? Absolutely not. No one is perfect. It's always just strive to be better. Work on like one area of your business. And like I said earlier, everything is just a work in progress, you guys. I'm still trying to perfect and make things better in my business. I've never proclaimed that everything was perfect because it is not. I still need to work on so much stuff, but I feel like I'm getting better and better each and every day. And that's all you guys have to do. Just try to be like a little bit more proactive versus reactive. And by doing that, by being a little more proactive, I'm becoming more efficient in my business as well. And I'm hoping today I have given you guys some good tips on how you can start being proactive versus reactive for your own businesses. Let me know in the comments what you plan on working on in your business or your life. I mean, this can pertain to your life as well, you guys, to become more proactive versus reactive. And I'd love to hear what you guys are all going to be working on. And I will definitely keep you all up to date on all of those things that I'm still working on. That is one thing I like to do is I like to put things out into the universe, like tell everyone what I'm doing so that it really holds myself accountable and that I accomplish those goals. So now in next week's episode, you guys, I am going to be talking about the steps I take when doing a complete booth flip from, where I source my items to planning my vignettes and then doing that complete booth flip. It's a huge process, and I have one coming up, like I just talked about. So, this is a perfect time for me to break it down for you guys and really talk about the steps that I take to do those things. So, maybe it can help you be, again, more efficient in your booth flips as well. So, I appreciate you guys listening today. And if you are listening on any of the podcast platforms, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe so you guys don't miss out on an episode. And if you are watching over on YouTube, again, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and turn on that bell notification so you guys don't miss an episode. You can also find me over on Instagram and Facebook, and I put a ton more content out over there as well. And I definitely want to start posting like little sneak peeks of upcoming episodes. But again, I need to be more proactive to do that. So I hope you've enjoyed today's episode, and we will see you next week. Bye.